All right, so I believe it's 15:15 or 3:15 if you wish. And therefore, welcome to our workshop number 4 in this long day here at the symposium in Olomouc. And it is my honor to welcome the online guests from many countries, especially in the West Balkans. And just technically to introduce you to the way it will work today is I will do a very brief introduction to understanding learning objectives and outcomes. But before I will give the floor to Armella, who will introduce a project that she and her team works on. And it's about recognizing the mobilities and learning outcomes and what kind of problems they face. Then I'll do the 4 slides, actually 3 slides, very brief. And then you will go to the breakout rooms and it will be like a discussion. Some of you will stay here. Some of you, like 2 or 3, will walk to the neighboring room, and you will be connected with our colleagues online to facilitate the discussion. So, do I have Armella there? I have so many.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
here.
Okay, so I'll stop sharing and I'll give you the co-host rights so that, well, so that you can share your screen. So, yes, Armella, the floor is yours.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Sorry for the echo. Okay, thank you, Pavlina, for hosting this webinar, 2 webinars actually, which are embedded within the symposium that you are organizing in Olomouc. Much as we had loved to be physically present at this event, it is unfortunate that this will take place online, but it is equally fortunate that it will take place, although virtually. So I don't know if you can hear me properly. Okay, great. As you were mentioning earlier on, this slot within the symposium is dedicated to Morin, which is an Erasmus Plus project, Strand 1, in which Palatsky is a partner, supporting us in organizing these webinars, offering their Zoom license for us, thus proving again the cost effectiveness of the project. So we can do much with little money. The title of the project is Mobility Recognition for Integration.
I may ask the participants who are not speaking to mute themselves. Bana? Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So let me briefly introduce the project, which, as I mentioned earlier on, is a Strand 1 capacity building in higher education multi-country project, which runs for 2 years, 24 months, basically. We started like officially last December, and we continue until 2025, basically November 2025. The project is coordinated by the University of Vlora, Albania. I am the contact person for this project. And the idea behind the project is based on the concept of integration. What the Erasmus Plus program and what the European Commission call integration of migrants, which is a regional overarching priority. It is structured in 4 work packages, among which of course, management. No project can do without management. Another one focuses on dissemination and exploitation of results. And then there are 2 development packages, and these webinars are organized in the framework of Work Package 2. It is actually the last of the deliverables we have to conclude in the framework of Work Package 2, which is indeed led by Pulaski University. As I mentioned earlier on, we focus on the integration of migrants. The idea behind it is just to explore a little more the concept of migrant. What is meant by migrant is people who move. It's not just people who, let's say, decide at one point in their lives to settle elsewhere. It's people who move. Why not settle for some time elsewhere? It is a priority that works in the framework of what is called regional cooperation. For quite some time, this has been a top priority on the social and political agenda of Western Balkan countries. And in that respect, we have attempted to, let's say, play our role by focusing on exchange for studies, exchange for training, for teaching. But our concern in this project was addressing student mobility. Why? Because from our exchange experience among Western Balkan higher education institutions, we've noticed that exchanges for students and staff work perfectly fine, but we cannot say the same for student mobility. So far, we've had very few exchanges. And based on this observation, we tried to look into the matter and thought that the problem could be recognition. Why am I saying this? Because when it comes to staff mobility, either for training or teaching, that gets some recognition. It is recognized in CVs, it is recognized in formal reckonings at the end of each academic year. It is formalized in promotion procedures and other such ways of, let's say, giving credit to this experience. The same cannot be claimed for student mobility. Moreover, we believe that, or at least believed at the time when we put together this application, that something should be changed in our approach to recognition. That is, regulate recognition procedures in such a way that they are more student-centered. And when we say student-centered, our concern is with what a student achieves at the end of the course. Basically what we call learning outcomes that you will be tackling more technically later on. These are the partners involved in this project. Basically, we have partners from Albania and Kosovo. The University of Lora is the coordinator. The European University of Tirana and Professional College of Tirana and are 2 more partners from Albania. Then from Kosovo, there is Business College and AAB College. And as far as partners associated to the Erasmus Plus program are concerned, there is Pulaski University in Olomouc, who are also hosting this event today, the University of Niš in Serbia, and the University of St. Clement Ohridski in Bitola in North Macedonia. Now, why did we choose these partners? Because, as I said before, we focus on regional cooperation. We want to enhance regional cooperation by focusing on academic recognition. We decided to introduce this whole roadmap, Western Balkan roadmap, by involving partners from Albania, Kosovo, Niš, and North Macedonia, and of course, asking Palatsky to join as an EU expert, let's say, in this regard. The choice of a university from Serbia and another one from North Macedonia is because they are countries associated to the program. We have established interinstitutional agreements with these countries, but the number of incoming and outgoing students both ways has been relatively low. So as I pointed out earlier on, key objectives of this project are to establish, or at least to contribute to establish, a common regional approach to academic recognition. And we believe we can do so by internationalizing the curriculum with global learning outcomes and embedded mobility, which I'm sure are concepts that have already been covered in the previous sessions. And by doing so, we hope to intervene in institutional procedures by introducing institutional procedures for credit mobility recognition. By doing so, we can standardize them, enhance transparency and quality in teaching and learning, and therefore improve skills-oriented learning for future employability. Because what matters after all is that education pays students off. They have a chance to get employed. Some of our paths of action is to develop documents and tools for academic recognition that work towards internationalizing the curriculum with global learning outcomes, establishing institutional procedures for credit mobility recognition, help Western Balkan higher education institutions involved in the project rewrite learning outcomes for a specific number of courses, and thus serve as examples to follow by other academics in these institutions. We will also try to simulate a recognition practice for comparison within the consortium. So basically what we will try to do is to set up a recognition committee within the consortium, give them recognition practices to carry out, and then compare them with the real recognition practices taking place in the Western Balkan higher education institutions involved in the project. Our major deliverables, among many others, are a regional mapping survey. This has just been recently published. It's available on the project's website. But the path to the mapping survey has been the setting up of a tool, which we call Self-Assessment Mobility Recognition Tool. The tool is basically a survey that relies on a self-reflexive methodology, meaning that with this questionnaire, we want to help higher education institutions reflect on their own practices, mobility recognition practices. This instrument can be administered repetitively, and in doing so, institutions can track their progress. We use the tool twice. We used it to, let's say, write a report, which we called a state-of-the-arts report, in which we introduce the situation at our institutions, and then we administered the tool for a second time to produce the mapping report, in which we involved all institutions from the Western Balkans and tried to assess the situation in these institutions as far as recognition procedures are concerned. By doing so, we hope to come up with guidelines for writing learning outcomes in order to help academics across these institutions, but not only, to write learning outcomes in order to introduce a global dimension in their curriculum. We have already written the first draft of this document. At the same time, our colleagues from Niche have just produced a manual, which is a concrete, let's say, illustration of how these guidelines would work in practice, in which they are providing useful examples of how learning outcomes can be written in different subject areas. They have taken examples from wide subject areas which all partners cover, more or less. We have organized workshops. They have been hosted, one by Olomouc in February, and another one by Ohrid, in which similar issues were discussed. Our colleagues participated in them, and let's say these workshops paved the way for the other events. And here we are with the webinars, in which we are not only introducing the project, but also provide some more capacity building, let's say, presentations, training, which will be delivered in the form of workshops, followed by Q&A sessions, with intention of helping academic staff in our respective institutions reflect on their own practices. Who are the beneficiaries? Of course, it is the Western Balkan higher education institutions, not only those involved in the project, but also others in other Western Balkan countries as well. Staff are direct beneficiaries because we help them reflect on their own teaching practices, their course syllabi, how they view their own courses, their own methodology, what the students achieved, how their achievement is recognized and credited. Students themselves who feel that their learning experiences obtained overseas is enhanced and recognized as such. Other beneficiaries include, as I said, other Western Balkan universities, why not ministry, policymakers, and higher education experts. This is practically it. So I don't want to take more time because I know there are more useful concepts to discuss that our participants are looking forward to listening to. Thank you very much, Pavlina. Thank you very much again for giving us this opportunity to embed both seminars within the symposium you are organizing, and even more so for technically taking charge of its organization. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you, Armilla. If you stop sharing, I could share my material. Thank you. So, a very, very brief introduction on my part, as I promised. I just want to do like a springboard introduction. We have been talking about the learning objectives, the learning outcomes, and the relevance of these. And what I want to point out that when we look at the learning objectives, they are teacher-centered, right? That's the bullets below the text, because the instructor should know, let me put it that way, what he or she wants to put across, what the outline should be, what the focus on the course content should be. However, we should not forget that it goes hand in hand, and it's like the evers and rivers of the same coin, that there are the learning outcomes. So, and whereas the learning objectives are teacher-centered, the learning outcomes should be student-centered. And that is, they should acquire not only new pieces of knowledge, but also some skills that they would take with them. And they should be able to apply what they learn, be it on the theoretical or practical level, and they should be able to analyze the content that they have learned. So, in my opinion, in skill-oriented education, it is necessary to craft well the learning outcomes and to provide very clear expectations for the students. They should be positioned on the learning map from the very outset so that they know what kind of path they follow. And in order to be successful, the learning outcomes, there are just 5 characteristics of those. They should be specific. More detailed description is provided there. They should be measurable by some kind of methods. They should be achievable, because if we set the goals too high, the students as well as the instructors might find themselves demotivated to cooperate, right? They should be relevant. They should be relevant in terms of the accreditation of the student programs, but they should be also relevant for the job market. Because once they graduate, right, some of them will leave academia and will seek jobs. And of course, the time frame, that is the time bound objectives, because we usually have like a semester. So we have a clear framework within which we should be able to achieve them, to measure them, to recap what we have done along the way. And what comes with it is also a few stages. So at first, and Armella talked about it, that she did it in her project, needs assessment. At the very beginning, you should know what kind of audience you will be addressing and what the needs are, because you might have a preconceived, maybe stereotypical idea what the needs are, but actually if you do a survey, it may show that the expectations are different. They might be tied to a specific generation or age groups. So we should do, as a second stage, the mapping of the outcomes, what already exists, whether they are relevant or whether they should be innovated. Step number 3, in the previous workshop, at least in this group, we did the alignment of all the different elements that come into question, such as activities, such as the deliverables, such as the outputs and dissemination. And of course, I shared over a coffee with my colleague that I am teaching one compulsory seminar for the 43rd time this semester. So, it's really a core seminar, but I feel the need as the instructor to continuously improve my teaching, to align it with the current pedagogical trends and with the current development. Although it is 19th century literature, of course there are new trends in research. There are new trends in how you can put it across. And to tie it to the topic of today's symposium, professional learning communities, although I am not a sociologist, I found out that it helps me a lot as a professional if I'm part of such a community, because otherwise I was on the verge of being burnt out. After so many years in the academia, you fall into a monotony of doing the academic stuff and activities you are expected to. So by way of introduction, let me stop here. And our online guests will be now introduced. They have been sorted out into breakout rooms. There will be 3 of them, and each will have 1 or 2 experts from the EU, and it will be based on discussion. So the discussion that I opened for the breakout rooms shall be based about the learning expectations and the learning outcomes, because later on, starting at 4, we will discuss the mobilities and recognition of the mobilities. Okay, so now concentrate on the outcomes. So if I may ask a member of the Ostroa group and maybe Jana to join Viet to the other group.
I'm sure I'm still online. I will just check.
Okay, whether it works. Okay.
We will change the room.
Yes, if Jana and somebody from Ostrava can join VTech. Okay, if I can ask another Ostrava member and maybe Leona to join Mary. Okay, and if Thomas, if Thomas and the other colleague can join me here, we will have the 3rd group.
Okay, I'm here, and we are waiting for the assignment.
You're not assigned the room?
No, not yet.
Sorry.
Betul? Ya, karena buktinya percaya untuk.
I'm sorry, just solving the technical stuff.
Always we have to do it.
Yeah. Can you see your breakout room or not yet?
Well, we can see Armella.
Nobody else?
Yeah. Can't read
Okay, I'll just check with the other group whether they can see it.
Well, I know, yeah, but I don't like.
And join any of the breakout sessions? There is
We have to sit around. We have to sit around there. Sit around.
Okay, I'll just do a restart of the breakout rooms. It's just a technical stuff.
Hybrid format.
Yeah. Anyway, those are all the rooms. But I have them there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're.
They're in room 2.
Why don't they close? Oh,
It doesn't close, you still see them.
yeah, but it's. Yeah. Where? Have we tested that? Pořád nevidíte svoje účastníky? No, ale, okay. They have not joined. Okay. If the participants who have not joined the breakout rooms could just click on the option, that would be nice. Unassigned, okay, assigned to. Assigned to. Two, assigned to three, assigned to one, assigned to two, assigned to three. They joined later, that's the thing. Keep track. Who's there? 14 more?
You got it.
Let's see. Yeah.
Do you have the people in there?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so you can start the discussion.
So. Maybe we'll move outside.
Okay.
Yeah. Keep it disturbing. Yeah.
Great. Okay. So can group number 3 hear me? I'll join. Okay, so can
So,
number 3 Helm hear me? You can.
nejsme meeting room 3, ale Pavlína mluví k nám všem.
Am I?
Or you are in the room 3 maybe.
Okay, I am. Okay, then I shall be in room 1. Yes.
Jo, myslím, že
Yes, I'll join room number 1. Okay. Okay. So, can we hear each other in room 1? Now, if you can unmute yourself, that would be nice. And we would like to hear what is bothering you and what kind of obstacles you have to overcome when you think of curriculum design and of formulating the learning outcomes, and then we can join like with some advice. So maybe can the colleagues from ABB College share it with us?
Did you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, so I am Mirza from AD College. I am here with my colleagues, but maybe I will talk from my perspective in general when it comes to formulating learning outcomes. Sometimes maybe it might be difficult to formulate learning outcomes that are in line with the whole program objectives, and sometimes you may end up having a lot of learning outcomes per course, and that might be difficult in a way to specify and to limit them into a particular number. And also when it comes to staff in general, I mean, at AEB, we pay a lot of attention to this part, and we have the quality assurance office, which makes sure that staff are continuously trained on how to formulate learning outcomes that are measurable and specific and everything like that. However, there might be also there might be some staff that maybe do not have let's say the necessary practice on how to write specific and measurable learning outcomes. And sometimes it might be difficult to just monitor and make sure that all learning outcomes throughout all courses are well written. And then when it comes to mobility, let's say maybe just verifying whether learning outcomes of a specific course have been in a way met when mobility took place and something like that. So these are just in a nutshell some of the challenges that we might face.
Okay, would any of you like to comment on it or give a piece of advice? Chris?
Start with me, sure. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, colleagues. I should look at you this way, right?
No, it turns.
It turns. Okay, great. I don't know if this is useful or not, or too simplistic. And I'm hoping it's not too simplistic, but the best advice I ever got about learning objectives is to start with the phrase, by the end of this course, comma, students will, and then insert a verb, some sort of action. And the action can't be learn, because you can't observe learning, right? So it has to be something else. And then after that verb, so let's say in my course, I would say, I teach a course on sustainable development goals. By the end of this course, students will identify three major arguments, or three major conflicts related to the sustainable development goals, right? That's the verb part of it. And then you insert the word by, B-Y. So by the end of this course, students will identify three major arguments around the sustainable development goals by citing relevant resources or something. So it's like there's the verb, I can't think of it on the spot, unfortunately, but there's the verb, and then the by is the measurement part. And you could sort of include that all into one long sentence. That's what my mentors told me. It may be too simplistic for the content you have, but maybe worth a try.
You know, the simplest things are sometimes the most crucial ones. And really, if you can formulate it within one sentence, the students can keep it in mind and can always refer back to it. Whereas if it is like a paragraph long definition, they lose their attention like halfway through, right? Thomas, would you have a recommend?
No, not yet.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So thank you, ABB College colleagues. Anyone else sharing concerns, obstacles, or good practice? Yeah, Atke? The floor is yours. We cannot hear you.
You have to unmute yourself.
He did.
Yeah.
Nope. Okay, while you struggle with the mic, anyone else?
Interesting. He can hear us.
Hello, Professor Paulina, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
If I can fill up until Adve figures it out how to.
What about now?
Oh, okay, you're fine.
Okay, continue.
No, it's okay, go on. No, please, continue.
Okay. Greetings to Paulina and all colleagues. I'm sorry for my complications here because I put on headphones and but it looks like they didn't relate that good. Related about the issue that you said to put on or to compile learning outcomes, a significant problem that I would say we have here is that um, it's more complex, and I will describe it in that way. We have accreditation process because those learning outcomes and objectives are very important when it comes to accreditation. And in our country, the accreditation process is done by external experts, from uh, Germany, from Czech Republic, from Poland, from Lithuania, Latvia, Romania, all England, Turkey, Georgia, all countries. And now they all somehow say this is like a standard, which I found out personally that everywhere that I went, actually a standard doesn't exist. And each one, when they come, they say, let me see your syllabi compiled from your professor, and they see learning outcomes. And he says, for example, this should not be like that. But that learning outcomes or that learning objective were set, lost accreditation, and were accepted, let's say, from Germans, from a German expert. And he said, this is okay. Another one came and he said, no, it's not okay. And you will have minus points for this. So you have to change it. Okay, we change it because he is the expert or she is the expert, right? And after the other accreditation, another one comes and he said, what did you do? You understand? This is the situation. Like, you don't have who to listen. To listen the students, the feedback from students, the feedback from industry, the analysis of quality assurance office, and the professors, the external experts, who to listen, you know? It's like a very complicated, it's very simple, as you said, but very complicated because uh, there is no standard which exists. We also, sorry, I'm going to prolong a little bit this, but we have a webinar with another project that we are partner on, and we were discussing these issues. The maybe what is what the topic was, what makes the international collaboration among European institutions sustainable. And the last question was that does political will has the power to create such a sustainable collaboration? And actually, that's the answer, because I found out by going in many mobilities, I found out that actually uh, there is no standard that exists. If I go to Spain, they have totally different approach. Let's say, for example, they have one lecture for 1 month and they finish with that lecture. We have different system. For example, uh, I was in Ostrava 2 weeks ago because we have partnership with VSB, and we have quite many similarities. That, for example, when we go when we run classes, we run parallel. All, for example, 5 classes, all parallel in different countries of Europe, of European Union, different rules. So this is something that uh, I found out that actually the system is quite divided, and maybe the only common point that we have is the ECTS system, I guess. And all in other aspects, we are divided in many aspects. And each, as I mentioned in the beginning, each expert that comes, he say that he wants to put his rules or her rules as correct rules. So this is more than complicated. It's like a continental issue, I would say.
Yeah, we are moving in circles. I know what you talk about because we have a very strict system of accreditation that is multi-level. In our country, first the science board of the faculty approves it, then it's the accreditation board of the university, and only then it goes to the national level. And we get feedback on all levels, and of course, they are very different and diverse, and we have to cope with it. And what you talked about, that there is no standard, well, the standard is just a theoretical construct that we either approximate or that we come close to or that we do not reach at all. So I think for you as non-EU members, you can look at the experienced institutions in the EU in terms of what their level is, what they want to achieve, because they have to align it with the EU politics, the measurable outcomes that are tailor-made for the job market. And it's a common European job market. So we have to accommodate the needs of modern society while returning the academic standards. And I totally understand, maybe let me call it frustration, when you try to design it to your best knowledge and with a lot of effort, and then somebody says, this is wrong, this does not work, right? So. me-
How do you deal with this? How do you deal with this?
How we deal with
No,
this?
I was.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
That-
how we
Yeah,
deal it.
yeah, you started and you did not finish.
Well, we deal with it that when we get the feedback, we have a certain period of time to fix it. And then it goes for re-evaluation. And until both parties are satisfied, it goes on and on and on. And it can take up to 2 years. So it's a lengthy process. So if you are planning to introduce a new study program or to re-accreditate
Mhm.
an already existing one, you have to plan well ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not talking to make rhetoric here, but just from the convincement that I have also before and also now that the system somehow is built in that way that we, as you said 1 minute ago, we should satisfy the requirements of the agency of a group of people, not the of students who is the the real main focus. So in this case, students doesn't matter. Is it true?
Correct.
Huh?
Any reaction?
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, yeah, correct.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's a hard question, and I think your frustration is valid because anything with peer review, you open up to that kind of diverse feedback, we'll call it that, right? And it's frustrating and it happens in lots of areas. I don't know if this is advice or just commenting. We had a similar situation at my university with tenure, with faculty to get tenure. Some would get it, some would not, some for this reason, some for that reason. And eventually, my institution had to develop almost a set of rules of engagement to say, these are the things that are important in a tenure dossier. And if you have them, okay, if you're not, you're not. And I wonder if has to be an institutional conversation about this is what's important for a learning objective. And maybe it's the students, and maybe it's the job market. It's probably both because the students are going into the job market. You know, and I think then if once that's developed, I don't know if you're a rector or not. It would be a great project for a rector or a vice rector for academics to develop something that could communicate with external reviewers to say, at this institution, we make learning objectives in this way because of, you know, we're aligning with, for example, we're aligning with EU best practices. We are student-centered. We are cautious about the job market. And then at least when somebody comes back and says, I critique you for this or that or the other thing, when you put in your response, you can say, well, we're changing, but here's the reason why we did this. It's not just, you know, every instructor making up their own idea about it. It's we make our objectives the way we do for a very important reason.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's helpful.
I got your point. Like to make like social validation of that what we wrote, but the expert will say, okay, maybe public accepted it, but they are not the expert. I am the expert.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's also a question. My recommendation would be following what Chris, who comes from University of Minnesota in the US, to give you the context, would be really the institution should have its own methodology and its own strategic plan that you could refer to and tell the authorities we are not making it out of the blue, but we are following a clear strategy, a clear line of development. Okay, I think because we are slowly running out of time, I will end the breakout session But we will go smoothly into the second webinar, which is more focused on mobility. So stay on this Zoom. I will just end the breakout room sessions and we can stay in here. Okay. So thank you for being active in the breakout rooms.